This presentation is going to talk about the Prairie Band Potawatomie. Who are they? They are a tribe of Native Americans who are indigenous to North America. They originated in the Great Lakes area around Michigan. In the beginning, their tribe was autonomous, living off bountiful Great Lake resources. Those resources included food, water, and timber used for wood and creating teepees. Food was hunted for along the bountiful landscape of the Great Lakes. Resources that could not be found by the tribe would eventually be traded for with local tribes, and as immigrants began to settle, they also traded resources with them. With the immigrant settlers, they first had contact with the Prairie Band Potawatomie tribe in 1641. It took a little bit longer than when the immigrants originally settled, since the Prairie Band tribe was closer to the Mississippi, and it took longer to settle out that way. With immigrants, ownership of land became an issue. Non-Indians wanted the land for mining, timber, and new cities. However, tribes like the Prairie Band had previously no concept of land and believed that land belonged to all living things, not just one person or one country. After numerous treaties, the Pottawatomie then decided to sell their land to the U.S. government. In the 1700s, the Prairie Band became dependent upon the French and their resources, and they even allied with them in the 7 Years' War, which ended up in defeat. During the Revolutionary War, they entered alliance with the British to stay in touch of trade goods, and the British even maintained ties with the Native Americans just in case the colonies were to have fallen through after their victory in the Revolutionary War. During that war, though, the Prairie Band was neutral, but eventually sided with the English. And they called the colonists who they were fighting against the 13 Fires for each of the 13 colonies. In the 1800s, treaties began to take away land owned by the Pottawatomie, including the Treaty of Fort Wayne. In a continuing cycle of taking land, 1854, the Kansas-Nebraska Act yet again opened tribal ground to more white settlement. In the late 1800s, additional land was surrendered. Laws were also put into place to make it easier for tribal members to sell land, which diminished the reservation and the land of the tribe even further. The Treaty of Chicago in 1833, that was the main treaty that forced the Pottawatomie to relinquish their 28 million acre homeland by the Great Lakes. This splintered the tribe and separated them, with some fleeing to Canada, some west, and some even in just nearby forests. In 1835, the tribe settled in Platte County, Missouri, but then in 1837 they divided into two groups over the acceptance of the European culture. One group settled in Council Bluffs, Iowa, while the other settled in Lynn County, Kansas. Then in 1846, the tribes moved again, with one tribe along the Kansas River and another along Soldier Creek. This then created the separation that became permanent, as one tribe became the Prairie Band, as they chose to follow traditional ancestral ways. They kept acreage in Jackson County, which is still considered Prairie Band Reservation. With the splitting of the tribes, they changed their name, as I said, to the Prairie Band. The other half, they chose to change their name to the Citizen Band because they chose the American way of life and sold all of their land in Kansas to become American citizens and moved to Shawnee, Oklahoma. In the 1900s, things began to pick up. Tribal members fought during the wars, both World Wars and the Vietnam War. The tribe had to improvise during areas such as the Great Depression. There was political power struggle in the 1970s causing conflict within the tribe. The National Indian Gaming Act in 1988 allowed tribes to offer gambling services to financially support their own economies. And in the late 1900s, all 7 bands in 1994 decided to meet together, the original Pottawatomie bands, to share cultures, traditions, and history. And in 1998, the Prairie Band Casino opened up. In the 2000s, new homes were built in efforts to provide housing support to tribal families. Road improvements were heavily addressed. The Boys and Girls Club was built in 2002. The tribe began to do philanthropic things around the local community and country, including supports for relief efforts for Hurricane Katrina, and then also steps have been taken to preserve their native land.